of revelation of Yahweh determines your level of relationship with Him. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4 of the Torah portion of the Echanan, and I pleaded. Let's go to chapter 5 of Deuteronomy. Devarim, begin reading with verse 1 and read down through verse number 6. And Moshe called all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the laws and right rulings which I speak in your hearing today, and you shall learn them and guard to do them. Yahweh, our Elohim, made a covenant with us in Horeb at Mount Sinai. Yahweh did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, those who are here today, all of us who are alive. Yahweh spoke with you face to face on the mountain from the midst of the fire. I stood between Yahweh and you at that time to declare to you the word of Yahweh, for you were afraid because of the fire, and you did not go up the mountain, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Notice how Yah here is identifying himself. He is saying to them, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who has brought you out of the land of bondage. Why did he not say, I am Yahweh your Elohim, creator of heaven and earth? Or, I am Yahweh, maker of heaven and earth. There is a popular saying that people use to justify all manner of things, saying, well, we're all God's children, every one of us. As if to suggest that any and every variety of person and their practices originates with the same one, the same God, whoever they interpret him to be. And we're all just God's children. Therefore, all of us being equal, all of us being children of the same being, let's just love one another and get along and stop trying to create religions and dogmas that want to change someone to our own perspective. Sounds like a reasonable argument on a very new agey, humanistic level. But when it comes to righteousness and purity of heart and to following after the will of Yahweh, our Creator, it falls short. The understanding is this: as Yahweh is indeed maker of heaven and earth, he is the originator of all humanity. He is the originator of all things that are existent, whether we know that they exist or not. And so in that regard, all people do have the ability to trace themselves back to the single created human being, to Adam. That's one level of relationship. That is a fabulous revelation. That's an incredible, marvelous revelation to know that we have a creator, the designer of this human body, the designer of the human mind, the one who has granted to us intellect enough to know how to reason and comprehend and discern, to gain intelligence, to learn. Incredible revelation. But there's more to him than that. There is the revelation that he is the Elohim, the mighty one, who has delivered a specific people from out of a place of bondage called Mitzrayim or Egypt, and brought them to himself to establish covenant with them. That's the level of revelation that he has given to Israel and is asking them to walk in. He is saying to them in a manner of speaking, I'm not relating to you the way I relate with all of the other peoples and nations on the face of the earth, as I am their originator. I am the one who has allowed them to have life. I am the one who has designed their physical beings and bodies and given them opportunity to exist. I am the one who created a covenant with your forefathers, who has been true to that covenant, and out of that covenant I have brought you out of a place of bondage, brought you to myself, and establish relationship with you. What level of relationship are we willing to have? How fervently do we want to draw closer to him? That is determined by what level of revelation of him we're willing to receive. You can't walk in covenant with him if you're not willing to see him as the covenant giver. Very plain, simple fact. He identifies himself here in verse 6 as Yahweh your Elohim who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. What follows is a repeating of the 10 words that were originally given back in Shemot or Exodus chapter 20. I'll put it this way. Previous religious systems that many of us have come out of prefer to start the listing of those 10 words by taking the second one and dividing it into 2, and thus creating statement 1 and 2. For example, they will say, you have no other mighty gods against my face, number 1. Number 2, they say, you do not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. And continuing, do not bow down to them or serve them, for I am Yahweh your Elohim, and a jealous El. In all reality, those 3 verses are number 2 altogether. So what's the first? The identity of who Yah is. The first of the 10 commands or 10 words is, I am Yahweh your Elohim who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim and out of the house of bondage. That's not a preamble. That's not an opening statement that leads to the 10 words. That's the first word. That is a call to us to recognize who Yah is. The systems that we're referencing would prefer to say that we disconnect ourselves from that historical fact. That's given to the people that failed and therefore needed to be replaced. Given way to replacement theology, also known as supersessionism. The same folks would say, we trace our beginnings all the way back to the book of Acts. How many times have you heard we'd like to get back to a New Testament model church or to a book of Acts model? The book of Acts model did not begin in the book of Acts. It began at Sinai. That's the called out assembly. Those are the ones who are selected to walk in his covenant. And while, yes, many failed, Hebrews chapter 8 says the fault was not in the covenant. The fault was in the people, but the covenant remains. So we do not disconnect ourselves from the fact that we have been brought out of the house of bondage. That reality needs to be as real for us as for anyone else on the face of the earth. The house of Yehudah, our Jewish family, they recognize this. They immediately attach to that. Every year at their Seder, they rehearse that. So do we. We're recognizing that we're a part of that family. We've been cut off, we've been displaced, we've been exiled. But as the prophets have given to us understanding, we are being called back to this covenant and being returned and being restored to it. Part of that process then is understanding that our mighty one is not just the one who showed up at what we call Calvary or gave to us the Spirit in Acts chapter 2, but he's also the one who brought us out of bondage. That's the one we serve. He's the Redeemer. He's the Deliverer. Not just a creator, not just an originator. Fabulous, wonderful, overwhelming revelations that they are. He is even more personally our Deliverer, our Redeemer, and our soon-coming King. There's you another revelation. Let's understand who he is so we can relate better to him. And we'll talk more tomorrow. To then, shalom.